Hey everybody, today, we are going to be talking about data solutions for your video business. Let's do this. For those of you who don't know, this is a NAS, specifically a NAS made by QNAP. A NAS is a network attached storage system. So this allows you to essentially attach storage in a network like you would access like the internet or a server or something like that. So the great thing about these is you can do these with multiple drives, which allows you to do things like RAID. Non-network drives you can also get in RAID format, which is a good solution, but they cost more, honestly, than a NAS a lot of the time, and sometimes the drives aren't easily replaceable depending on the type of RAID drive you get. This allows you to configure different RAIDs really easily, and you can access them over your home network and or through a networking cable. I'm gonna move this out of the way. So there's a couple things that allows you to do with your business that makes it really useful. Data speed being the big one, so you can edit 4K files over a networking cable on your computer, which in this case, we're going to be adapting our USB 3 to a 5 gigabit Ethernet. Because this has a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port that you can handle higher data rates, but it also has USB 3, which you can adapt to a 5 gigabit Ethernet port, which should cover your data rates for a good number of video editing applications. My goal with this one was to keep it under $1,000. QNAP itself is only 400-ish, plus 4 terabyte drives and a QNAP adapter for my USB 3 on my computer so I can use the 2.5 gigabits. It all came out to about $946 after tax. It may be noted that this is not sponsored by QNAP. I just like their NAS systems. They're very easy to set up and they come with a bunch of pre-built software. So this thing can also is basically, it's a server, so it can do its own processing and that sort of stuff. So there's a bunch of little like bells and whistles, like you can have it set up to do FTP, which means you could transfer files to clients really easily. You can remotely access your files. So if you're out and about and go, oh, damn it, I left my such and such video clips on my hard drive at home and it's not with me and I'm out and I'm traveling and I really need that clip so I can add it into the sequence to my client because they want it in 2 hours for some reason. Sorry, a little bit of trauma there. So if you need that clip and you're somewhere else on your, like a laptop, you can easily get access to that clip. RAID obviously is a big one. Protecting your data and your client's data is really important. I've had experiences where I've had a drive fail. So I was able to do data recovery, but we were on a time crunch doing an event and we were at the event. I wasn't able to get that data until later on, unless you're making like copies of your data all the time, which is kind of time intensive, constantly doing backups, having a backup drive, which is still good to have, and you can attach a backup drive to your network just to make sure you're even more redundancy if you want, or you can back it up to an external server service like Amazon has a few, and like there's a couple other ones that you can use. In this case, I think I'm gonna do RAID 5 or 6. I think you get a little more write speed. You get the redundancy, so if a drive fails in the system, you can actually just pull that drive out, put a new one, it will rebuild that drive and your data won't be lost. You'll be up and running, and depending on the size of the drive, obviously rewriting a drive, if there's a ton of data on it, it's gonna take longer. Yeah, you will be able to recover that in a fairly short amount of time. You won't have permanently lost your client's data, which is a big deal. It's a bigger deal than a lot of people make. People always do this thing where it's like, oh, it's not gonna happen to me. The fact of the matter is, at some point, if you're doing video work, your drive is gonna fail. It's happened to me. It's happened to thumb drives. It's happened to those little guys. It's supposed to be nicer drives. It's just like, it can just happen. Like, your drive can fail. You can lose your data. So having redundancy is really important. Today, we're gonna set up and configure it. Also, before I forget, another big advantage is the fact that it's expandable. Today, I'm just gonna be putting 4 terabyte drives in that, which is great for me for now. But assuming I get maybe some bigger clients, or I just need more storage space in general for bigger projects and that sort of stuff, I can go ahead and swap out one of the drives for a bigger one and go through and swap all the drives for bigger drives, and that way expand how much space you have. It kind of future-proofs it. You don't have to end up getting new drives all the time. Definitely, if you're gonna be running a business, do not use those dinky, like Western Digital Seagate backup drives. Like, those are great if you just need something quick to throw a backup on, like, or you just needed to give it to some client, that's fine. But never ever keep your only copy of data storage on those little drives. It's a terrible idea. Just from experience of doing this, been doing this for 12 years, actually 14 years now, I think. You will lose data if you keep your stuff on the type of drives. Let's get started. All right, so let's unbox some of this stuff. Boy, got the QNAP here. Stuff. This down. Pull it up. Power cable, very important. QNAP server itself right here. So you guys can get a look at that. Set up. There's the front QNAP server there. Got our ports back here. And box here, which are gonna be power adapters. Such, yeah, we got a length of Cat 5, I'm assuming. Installation guide, and power adapter, and keys for unlocking the bays, and looks like extra screws and such for screwing in drives. With this guy here, the Cat 5, we're going to actually replace this with some Cat 6 that are ordered separately. Cat 6 can handle, I think it's 10 gigabits. So this will be sufficient for our 2.5 gigabit data rate that we're going to want to be getting out of our server. That's one of the points of having it, is have that good data speed so you can edit 4K real-time, processor and GPU allowing. This is our USB 3.0 gigabit adapter. So what we can do with this is we can adapt the USB on the back of my computer, because I only have a 1 gigabit Ethernet port, so it only supports up to 1 gigabit. But I can take my USB 3 port, hook this up, and I should be able to get technically up to 5 gigabit. 2.5 is going to be plenty, and that's all that this is going to be outputting. You can also use this to adapt the USB on here. If you already have a port on your computer, you can adapt the USB on here to have a 5 gigabit Ethernet port on the QNAP, and the drivers and everything I think are already on here, so plug and play in that case. But in my case, I'm gonna have to install drivers to get this working so we can get our high speed going. And then we have 4 of these Seagate Iron Wolf drives. These are NAS optimized drives. I got 4 of these in a bundle because it's cheaper to buy them together in a bundle. These are 5,900 RPM, so they're like averagely fast drives. They're not particularly fast, but when we put them all together, the combined data rate should be plenty for the editing we're doing. So that's something you always want to look into with drive speed and the number of drives in your RAID. Typically, the more drives there are, the faster your read-write speeds are going to get, depending on how you rate it. We're going to probably do RAID 5 because that gives us high read-write speeds and 1 drive of redundancy. If you want more redundancy, you could do RAID 6. So with RAID 6, you can have 2 failed drives, but the trade-off there with RAID 5 and 6 is 5 has a faster write speed versus 6 has a little bit of a slower write speed. If you want to be super safe, do RAID 6 because there's no penalty to the read speed, which is mostly what you need for editing. Always read the instructions. Resist the urge to not read instructions. HD and SSD compatible. So first thing is, of course, installing the drive. Since it's moderately straightforward, you'll need a screwdriver. We're drifting around up here somewhere. Open this bad boy up. These things are a lot lighter than they look. There's the front, that's where we'll be inserting our drives, power, and all the status buttons. And then the back, we have our, here's our 2.5 gigabit on top and 1 there, and then extra USBs. So if you ever wanted to even have higher data rates, you could use that adapter. We have our extra screws here and our keys. Go ahead and, not locked to begin with. So you can go ahead and flip this up, remove the tray. We don't want to get dust and stuff in here, so if your environment is dusty, try to keep it generally clean. drive. First Iron Wolf drive here. Black Mamba knives. This is their Dart Frog. I had it custom made with wood. Check them out, Black Mamba knives. Put that in here. There we go. Try not to get dust in all this. Nesting drives is never a good thing. This part up. Flip this. Turn to this side. And screws. This is very small threading. So that, I'm guessing, is for SSDs. We'll try the silver ones. it won't fit if it's the wrong one, so. Your drive. There, that's threading in there nicely. It's a little actually too small. I want my multi-tool here. Into there actually a little bit better. That should be in the casing. You should be able to slide that in. Should lock and connect into place in the back there. And we'll do our next one. Alright, so all the drives are installed in here now. Gone and locked them in with the key here. We should be good to hook it up, plug it in, and start it up. Yeah, so we'll do that, and then we'll use QFinder Pro, which is their app, to set it up. So I'm gonna go run the power cable under my desk. Also get this sucker set up too with the drivers on my computer. I read on the internet that the new Mac OS Big Sur is not supported yet for the drive, so the drivers don't work. Might have been fixed by now. As far as I know, it doesn't work with Big Sur. So I'm gonna just switch off the camera while I run power and hook this up. Obviously, you'll be hooking it into your computer with Ethernet cable. Ethernet cable goes into this. This plugs into your USB. Pretty straightforward. And then that goes into the back of the QNAP here. If you wanna do any web setup, you also wanna hook up the Ethernet to your router. Be right back once I get everything hooked up, and we will hop on the computer and do the rest of the setup. All right, I'm back and I got all the cables hooked up. The only thing left to do is press the power button, turn it on. And it should take a second to boot up. All right, so if we go over in QFinder Pro, now that this is booted, QFinder Pro is going to try to find it there. It was able to launch here, and we want to go ahead and click configuration per the instructions. Okay, we'll start the smart installation guide here. Here I'll set up a username and password, but you don't get to see that. Okay, I'm just going to start setting up the device. It'll take a couple minutes. Loading bar sitting at 99%. So after it's done setting up, we're going to go ahead and configure the RAID on the server drives. Then you can also set up users as well, multiple people you want to have access. You don't necessarily want to have admin access. The whole setup wizard is pretty straightforward and easy. All right, so that has finished up. And if we go to NAS management, it should bring us to login page. And once we're logged in, if this doesn't pop up for some reason, you can go ahead and click storage and snapshots here. We're gonna click where no volume is to add a volume. And we're gonna click static volume, because this is gonna give us the best performance, which is what we want. These other ones the way it manages the data is more efficient, but static volume, most space and the best performance in terms of read and write speeds. So we want all these disks. We're gonna do RAID 5. So hit next. Let's call this, abbreviate my production company, Iron and Wood Productions, and then just do _RAID. That all looks good. And we'll go ahead and click finish, and should go ahead and create that volume. It's gonna erase everything that's already on there. Nothing's on there, these are brand new drives. What that's gonna do is it's gonna create that new static volume, which then we can use as a network attached storage drive, which we can access via our Finder, and it operates at that point pretty much like a drive. All right, so that has finished, it's ready. It's gonna continue to optimize the RAID system, but we can probably go ahead and go over to our Finder and I'll show you how to connect to it. Okay, we're here to go, connect to server. We can use AFP. If you go over and look at our Finder, you'll see the IP address. Go back over to our Finder here, punch in our IP address. Okay, once we have that punched in, we should be able to go connect. Okay, and then we can basically go to our default file thing, which will be home. And there it is. Hey everybody, future me here. Forgot to check the data speed. We're getting about 260 megabytes a second, which is just over 2 gigabits. That's some pretty good speed. I'm happy with it. All right, back to pass me to finish up this video. You can configure your file system however you want. It should stay connected, and you'll see it down here. You can see all the folders. If you're on a Windows machine, you're going to connect to it via SMB protocol. AFP is a Mac-specific protocol for file access. If you're using Mac, I would recommend using AFP. That is it for today. Comment if you have any questions. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more. Hit the bell if you do that. It helps me out. And thanks for watching, and remember to get out there and make something awesome. Bye.